Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, the Q&A portion of the show. We just talked about a big bad mistake that I made with my GH5, and I hopefully am helping you to not make the same mistake with yours. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you click on this video first, click up here. That'll be the video that will be the one about this you want to watch, and then come back to here for the Q&A. So, good morning everybody who's watching live Q&A show. For those of you who are watching live, you know what to do. If you got a question, any question, doesn't matter if it's related to this or not, put it in the chat, put it in the live chat, and make sure you put @PhotoJoseph in front of it so that I know that you've got a question. I can bring it up on screen like we have here. If you don't put @PhotoJoseph in front of it, I won't know it's for me, and I'll skip right past it. So if you already asked a question and you didn't do that, copy and paste the question back into the chat with @PhotoJoseph in front of it. Burns says, wow, the timing of the audio dropping out made me think my sound just died on my PC because you were pressing buttons. Well, good job. Yeah, my mic died in the middle of the show. It's just, if you watch the edited version, you're not going to see that, but you're still going to see me totally confused. Let's see. Burns also says, I don't know if you touched on this. HDMI control that we were talking about, like this, with the recording is known as CEC. I didn't know that, so I did not touch on it. This is common on TVs and DVD players of the same manufacturer, which is typically a one-way communication, which is exactly what we ran into. The camera is the DVD player, and the Atomos is the TV. Yep, I get it. One-way communication. It's telling it to start or stop recording. The device on the other end is not sending a signal back saying that it was successful or not. It's actually quite interesting where this technology has come from and is going. There's quite a bit of info on this, so a Google search would yield more information that I can type in the comments. Cool. Well, if you want to know more about how the pushing the button thing works and makes it trigger it, then by all means do that Googling. Search for consumer electronics control. If you just want to know that it works, just turn it on in your camera, and away you go, and it will work. That's all there is to it. Pretty straightforward. Let's see, any other questions going here? There's no other questions. How can there not be any other questions? Burns, you're the only person. Come on, guys. I know how this goes. We're going to do a little do-do-do-do, because I know what happens is if I sign off, then all the questions are going to come piling through. So we're just going to wait. Here, I'll cut this part out of the recorded video. Oh, good. Look at that. See? I knew we'd get one of them. Here come the questions. Ryan, do we have like a 6-week delay going on the feed today? SRO Digital, do you think you'll accommodate the new 10 to 25 into your lens lineup? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So he's asking when, at Photokina earlier this week, along with the LUMIX S announcement, was an announcement of the new 10 to 25 millimeter lens. It is a fixed aperture, was it 1.7, I think? Ooh, oh, that is, yeah, that, I would say that will probably replace the 8 to 18. As much as I love the 8 to 18, who wouldn't want a similar range? Actually, a little bit, okay, so it's not quite as wide, so I'd keep that 8 probably for architectural work, but, because it's just a little bit wider. But that 10 to 25 makes for a heck of a all-purpose video lens, and that constant aperture is beautiful, and of course it has a clickless aperture. So you can change aperture while you're shooting without getting that stopping through your exposure. Now, to be fair, I do have one other lens that's a clickless aperture, that 25 f.95 Zhongyi lens. I prefer to change the light coming in with an ND filter, because if you're changing the aperture, then that also changes your depth of field, which could be used to effect, of course. If you want to have your depth of field expand or compress during a shot, that's kind of cool. You could definitely do that. But I'm more inclined to use an ND filter to do that. So the clickless aperture is less of an interest to me than the constant aperture f1.7 and the 10 to 25 range. I think it's a very, very exciting lens, so I cannot wait to get my hands on that one. Unfortunately, I have no idea when that's actually happening. That's when they announced it, they just announced development of it. Panasonic did not say when, so fingers crossed it'll be sooner rather than later, but I don't know. Max Tube says, what do you think about the new screen on the S1 and S1R? Okay, so what he's talking about is we are used to, on our GH5s, grab one that's not attached to something. And let me actually grab another camera as well as reference here. There we go. All right, so what he is saying, if you haven't seen yet, so the GH5, GH5S, the G9, pretty much all of the higher end level GH4 cameras from Lumix have what we call a fully articulating screen. This means that you can, let's go to this view. This means that you can flip the screen around so it's protected. You can flip it this way, so it's just screen out. You can flip it forward for the selfie cam thing if you're doing vlogging, or one of the ways that I use this all the time is in the studio. If I've got the camera set up on a tripod and I'm building a set or whatever, I'm over here and I'm building the thing and I'm able to look at it. So it's just a quick, easy way to do that. If you want to do a top-down view, you simply rotate the LCD viewfinder up, you can do it over your head like that. It's a fully articulating. It goes essentially every direction you would need. You can see it from anywhere. Fantastic. The GH5, the S1 and S1R are going to have a 3-axis articulating screen. Now this is the GX85. It has a 2-axis screen. The 2-axis screen does this. It folds up that way, or it folds down that way. The one on the S1 and S1R will also flip out this way. It's not a full 90 degree. It looks like it's maybe a 45-degree angle or so. The only place that I've actually seen this, because Panasonic did not show this in the announcement, but I can tell you this because I did see it on a video by Ben Fox, who is a vlogger out of the UK. He was at Photokina and he got into the back room where they were showing it privately, and he was able to shoot some video of that. I will link to Ben's video right here. Definitely check it out. It's a fun vlog entry to begin with. Ben's quite entertaining. And subscribe to his channel. He's low on the subs. He needs to get up there. Give him a good subscribe. He showed it, so that's why that's where I've seen how that works. There's 2 arguments here. This type of a panel is apparently quite fragile, and I say apparently because that's what I hear. I have never had a problem with it. I'm not the most abusive with my gear. I'm no Casey Neistat. I actually take care of my gear. I have yet to break one of these, so to me this is not fragile. The 3-axis one apparently is more robust. And there are people who like that one better. I've actually seen people say they like it better. I see the majority of people that I've seen at least have said that they would prefer to have this. Personally, I would prefer to have this. But that's about all I got for you. I have no idea if there's any opportunity or possibility that this would change. But what I know is that that is what they are showing right now. That is what they've said it's going to have. That is what we've seen picture or video of. So anyway, that's the difference. So for those of you who would prefer to have this type of a LCD panel, I'm sorry, it looks like we're not getting that in S1R. For those who prefer the 3-axis, well, then you're in luck, because that's what you're getting. All right, let's see here. You got Astro Digital Sec. I'm shouting no to you, saying the show is coming to an end while I'm still typing. Oh, good, you got it in. Well, see, you gotta type fast, man. You can always just say, put at PhotoJoseph and go, wait, and then type your question. That always works too. Okay, let's see here. Where are we? Where are we? Emacs Tube, is there a legal reason they cannot put on the S series? That LCD? No, not at all. No, there's a lot of cameras. Not a lot of cameras. I think more cameras actually have the 3-axis than the fully articulating. But no, that's not any proprietary thing. If they've, look at it this way. Let's just pretend it was something that they had to license, and therefore they've licensed it for these higher end cameras. Clearly, the S series is going to be a bigger, more expensive camera than the GH5. Clearly, I'm not saying that because I know the prices, because I don't, but it's kind of obvious, right? Bigger camera, more tech, bigger blah, blah, blah. It's going to be more expensive. There's no reason they wouldn't license it for that. So no, it's not a licensing / legal issue for sure. It is just a manufacturing decision. Trevor Pinnicky says, given that most people accept Micro Four Thirds when they buy Panasonic, how much pent-up demand do you think there is for full-frame camera? Will you buy one? Well, I'm kind of lucky here. I don't have to buy it, right? Because I'm a Lumix ambassador, I will have one. Now, whether I'll have one to keep forever or I'll have one just long enough to show you, I don't know. No idea. But I will obviously have one to show you. If it was just my money, it wasn't sponsored by Panasonic, would I buy one? Not likely, because I switched from full frames to Micro Four Thirds because I like the smaller size, right? I like the small size, the lower weight, I like this form factor, and the lower cost, right? I am able to do all the work that I need to do with these, and especially as I'm doing more and more video than still production these days, these things are perfect. But for those who insist on full frame, want full frame, will only shoot full frame, of which there are, of course, many, 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 many people, then this is a great option. So here's what I would say. It is not about pent-up demand. Here's one of the things that I have observed. And being a Lumix ambassador, I do a lot of events where there are people, where we like set up a booth, let's say. Let's say you do a thing for a camera store, like I did at the Detroit Zoo a month or 2 ago, whatever it was. I'm at a booth at a little table for Panasonic. We've got a table full of loaner gear. The camera store that was putting on the event invites their customers to come in, and it's like a try out a new camera day. So we're at the zoo, and you've got a table from Panasonic, and one from Sony, and one from Canon, whatever. They're all set up there. And you can come in, and anybody who's part of the event can come in, and they can check out a camera and go use it. Awesome. So people who don't know much about Micro Four Thirds or APS-C or full frame and don't really understand the differences, maybe don't know all the brands, what they hear, what most people hear is full frame is best, right? This is what you just hear. You know it. You know it whether you believe it or not, whether you know it to be true or not. You know that what people hear all the time is full frame is best. You got to buy full frame. And so, okay, well, I gotta buy full frame. I need full frame. And then you get the big names. You got your Canon, you got your Nikon, you got your Sony. Okay, I gotta buy full frame. The only full frame that you hear you have to buy is Canon or Nikon or Sony. You don't hear full frame Lumix because there isn't one or hasn't, right? Hasn't been. So you go into the store, you go to your B&H, you go to your camera store or whatever, and you go, I want to buy me a full frame Canon. And they go, okay, and they pull out a full frame Canon, they put it down, and the customer goes, ooh, that's a big camera. Ooh, all right, how much is it? And they tell them the price, and they go, what? It's how much? That's ridiculous. I can't afford that. I'm going to spend that kind of money. What else you got from Canon? And now they buy an APS-C sensor. My prediction is that we're going to start seeing the same thing with Lumix. People are going to come in because they've heard now there's Lumix full frame. It does all these incredible things, 4K, 60p. It is amazing. And they're going to come in, and they're going to pick it up, and they're going to, ooh, that's a big, heavy camera. The lenses are huge. This is heavy, but that's okay. That's what I want. How much is it? Sticker shock, because it's going to be more expensive than these. They're going to go, oh, well, what else you got? Micro Four Thirds, my friend. I think that that's what we're going to see a lot of. That's what I hope. Now, obviously, there's going to be a big demand for those full-frame cameras. People are going to buy them. Obviously, it's freaking fantastic, and what it's doing in the video space even is awesome. But it's a high premium product. It's going to be expensive. So people are going to have sticker shock and decide that, you know what, maybe after all, I just want the Micro Four Thirds. So anyway, that's my expectation. That's my rant. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but we will see. So no, to answer the question, is there pent-up demand for the full frame? Not necessarily, but I think there's going to be a really interesting halo effect of it. And also, I will say this too, that experience at the booth, I think I kind of got derailed from that story. The experience at the booth is people would come up who don't really know the lineup, and they'd come up and say, oh, cool, Lumix, you got a full frame camera? I want to play with that. And you go, no, we don't do full frame. We do Micro Four Thirds. And they go, oh, well, I want full frame. And so they walk over to the Sony booth or the Canon booth, and they pick up a full frame, and they go play with that. That's part of the problem. So anyway, hopefully this resolves all of that. We'll see. We will see. All right. As I was just saying, are the levels down on you? You know what's happened? Ever since my center light went out, I haven't, and I did actually recalibrate the adjustment, the exposure. The exposure is perfect Rec 709, but it feels dark, doesn't it? It does. I need to get in here and bump it up a little bit. I do. It's a perfect, accurate exposure, but it just feels dark. So you're right. I need to bring it up a little bit. All right. Camera deal, I see your question. Next time camera deal, make sure you put @PhotoJoseph in front of it. First, thanks for the live video. One question, I'm currently using the 8-18 Panasonic for vlogging. Love it. What do you think about changing it? Well, I think I just answered that. So there you go. I've already addressed that. APNTV says Ben Fox is cool. Fellow Brit, he is cool. Ricardo, hello. Ed Vizinor says, can I sneak in a Lightroom question? Absolutely. How does the raw file get impacted if you edit in Photoshop and then save it and come back to Lightroom with the same saved file, saved. Okay. Here's the thing to understand about RAW. When you're shooting RAW, have a RAW file. It is a 10-bit, 12-bit, 14-bit, maybe even 16-bit file. Just depends on the camera that it comes from. So we're not talking any brand specific. This is just in general. When you're shooting RAW, you have big bit depth. When you save as a JPEG, it's compressed down to 8-bit. When you save as a TIFF, you can save that TIFF as an 8-bit TIFF, or trying to remember in Photoshop, is it 10 or 12-bit or whatever? There are higher bit rates for bit depths for the TIFF file. If you were to take a RAW file into Photoshop, do some stuff with it, save it as an 8-bit TIFF, open that up in Lightroom, you have now restricted yourself to the 8-bit color space. This may or may not be a bad thing. If while you were in that larger color space, you brought all your highlights and shadows in within that 8-bit color space, which is what you have to ultimately do before you can share it online, right? You have to, otherwise you're not going to see those highlights and shadows. This is why we have the raw files, so we can pull that data in, lift the shadows, pull the highlights down, the data that is there, but is not visible in an 8-bit space. We pull it back in. If I do that before I send the file over to Lightroom or to anywhere else, as long as I pull the colors within 8-bit space and I save an 8-bit file, you're perfectly fine. What happens where you run into a problem is if you take that raw file and you left highlights and shadows above and below that 8-bit space, and then you saved it as an 8-bit file, you would be clipping off that data just as if you had saved it as a JPEG. So if you want to have all that data in there, you need to save it as a TIFF or a DNG or whatever format in the same bit depth of which the file was originally created. So that way you're going to still have all that data. So if you open up a raw file in Photoshop, and let's just say it starts as a 12-bit raw file, you open that in Photoshop and you either manipulate or don't. Say you don't do anything at all, but then you save it as a 12-bit TIFF, which I'm saying 12-bit TIFF, and I'm not even sure if that's a thing. I don't do this workflow, so I'd have to check it. But as long as you save it in a bit depth that is as big or bigger than where it started, you're not losing anything. When you bring it into Lightroom or anywhere else and you start manipulating it, all that data is still there, you can still recover it. It's if you save it into a smaller bit depth that you're going to have a problem. So if you want to do your raw processing in Photoshop for whatever reason, in Adobe Camera Raw, and then bring that saved file into another app, save it as a TIFF, and you could even save it as an 8-bit TIFF as long as you've brought all your highlights and shadows into that 8-bit space, and then you'll be fine. Once you get it into, once you open the file in Photoshop or in Lightroom or anywhere, you're working in what's called a floating point space. The bit depth is massively larger. It's, I think, 32-bit depth. It's a massive space that you're working in, but the file itself cannot be saved that big. So once you open it in there, you have all the room to play, but if you have clipped off the data because you saved it as 8-bit and you cut off the heads of the highlights, cut off the bottoms of the shadows, just as if you shot JPEG in camera and you had exposure range that was beyond 8-bit, then that's where you're going to run into a problem. So I hope that answers your question. All right, that does appear to be the last question. This time we are actually going to end it here. So thank you very much for your questions, everybody. You know what to do: subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. Let's bring this thing back up again. Don't forget about my event at Hunt's Photo in Boston, or just outside of Boston. Let me bring up the actual graphic for that again. So this is loading. There we go. That's the event, Hunt's Photo and Video Show. I did not make this graphic. Don't give me a hard time. The Hunt's Photo and Video Show in Boston, or just outside of Boston. Oh, there, I'm using the wrong mouse. Just outside of Boston. And on the dates of the 19th and the 20th, that is going to be Friday, October 19th and Saturday, October 20th. I'm doing events, getting started with video and then travel photography. You can sign up for these free events at photojoseph.com/events. That'll give you the links to take you to the actual sign up page on the Hunt's Photo website, and take it from there. So if you live in the Boston area, come see me, come say hi. It's gonna be fun. All right, guys, that's it. I'm out of here. Take care, have a good weekend. Bye-bye.